Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a lot to talk about today. Got a good show lined up for you. We're going to crank it up here in a minute with Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Second portion of the show, we'll be joined by UF Hall of Famer, SEC Network analyst Chris Doering, talking the LSU game, his thoughts, and also previewing Florida, Alabama, and Atlanta. But first, let's get straight to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by good old Buddy Martin. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. It's been a tough couple of days for Gator fans and Gator Nation, but I guess time to heal up and move on to the next thing. And by the way, the next thing is the big thing, isn't it?
There's no question. I mean, this is what you play for. Your first goal is to win the East. They did that. Then your second goal is to win the SEC. And then if that happens, bigger things may happen. And unfortunately, the upset loss to LSU pretty much knocks you out of the national title picture, but still got a lot to play for. I'm still surprised we lost that game, but we really didn't deserve it. I mean, we didn't play well in all three phases. A lot of bad stuff happened to us in that game. We still almost overcame it. But again, you got to move on.
Shane, when you see a play like we saw with the Kadarius Toney play on out of bounds, the ball bouncing out of his hands, and by the way, he played great. Falling backwards, trying to catch the ball, bounce off his hands, bounce off the helmet of the LSU player, and bounce off to a guy who's falling out of bounds, who makes a great play, and they intercept what is surely a score, if not a touchdown, certainly a field goal, which is all you needed. When that happens, it's not your night.
Well, it's not. I mean, you can point to a lot of things, buddy. I would say coaching Kyle on that scramble when he ran out to his right. He threw a high, hard one behind Toney. He had to reach back with his right arm. If he just throws it out of bounds, we still have the possession. And it was a freak interception, but it wasn't a good throw on his part. He still played well. He made some mistakes, but all quarterbacks make mistakes. We get stuffed on the 1 yard line. We miss a field goal. We're inside the red zone 8 times. I think we only scored 3 touchdowns. It's just seriously, and in Marco's situation, but what surprised me the most was in that second half, buddy, we had 3 straight 3-and-outs on offense against a very bad defense at LSU. And I want to give LSU a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And that was a better LSU team. It's not because their backs were against the wall. It's because their coach made the right decision and played the right quarterback. If you go back and look at LSU's last 5 games, they started the Finley kid, and he would play the first 3 quarters, and LSU would be behind 20, 30, 40, 50 points. They'd put Max Johnson in the 4th quarter. He'd drive them down for some scores, but you could tell the kid knew how to play the position. And by them starting him, gave them a chance to win the game, and I thought he played really well.
Good point. I'm going to argue with you a little bit about what wins and loses the game, because this is an age-old discussion. What lost and won the game? The problem is it's a group loss. Everybody knows that. It's not one person, one player. But in our business of doing talk shows or being a columnist or writing, our job is about moments, certain moments. I don't have to tell you, you had one in that game in Birmingham, which wasn't even your fault, but will forever define that particular game. Not you, because you're a championship quarterback. But when a play happens like that, and you say, well, don't blame Marco. Yeah, blame Marco, because he had a misjudgment. He made a big mistake, for which he will pay and has paid. And by the way, he happened to be the focal point for the frustration of people about Todd Grantham's defense. Everybody is frustrated about it. And Marco, who has not played well, let's be honest, this year, he's been a good player, really, Florida. He comes from a good family. He's, I guess, a good kid for all I know. You would know better than I. Well, on that night, at that time, he had a snap. And that judgment cost him and his team a lot. Can I say for sure that they'd have won the game? No. But I think we both know that the way that the game was going, that Florida was going to get that ball and go down and score, at least get a field goal. And so you say, well, was that the defining play? Yes, it was. And will that define his career? Maybe not, but it'll be what they remember him for. And I feel bad because, Shane, who among us has not made bad decisions in our life? I was thinking,
we all have. But
yeah,
I see, this is where we're going to disagree, buddy. And it's great that we can disagree because, you know, you can sit here and say, we still had a chance to tie the game. You know, I had somebody call one of the shows I was on yesterday and say, well, we can blame Evan McPherson for our 2 losses because he missed a field goal against A&M and he missed that field goal. But that's why football is a team sport. You can blame this loss on Kyle Trask if you want. He threw a pick 6, he fumbled, and gave them 10 points. So that's why, I mean, Marco's decision is what people view because it was at the end of the game. But we don't know that if Marco does not throw that they punt to us. Who knows if we don't throw an interception the next play? We don't know.
Yeah, I don't agree with you on that because
okay, but my point is they're not the team. I can promise you is not blaming Marco Wilson for this loss.
But they're going to rally around him. You know that's going to happen, and it would be a good thing in that regard. But you cannot defend it because it was not a football play.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. It was a boneheaded play, and I know he regrets it.
Sure.
And it should have never happened. But there's so many other factors in that game. Yeah. Whether should have Kyle Pitts played, we don't know.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Trask has 3 turnovers that give LSU 10 points. If we kick the field goal on the first drive from the 2-yard line, you got a team that has struggled all year. You take the opening drive it right down their throat. If you go up 3-0, what does it do to their mentality for the rest of the game? We did so many things on offense, defense, and special teams to let them hang around that it was just that one of those nights where things went bad and we should have won the game, but we didn't. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it now. But I totally disagree from the Gator Nation and media people, and that's their opinion. It's my opinion that Marco Wilson cost us that football game because I totally disagree with that.
Yeah, I figured you did, and a lot of football people will. But let me explain to you like this. You played baseball, right?
Yeah.
I was a baseball player. They actually got a letter at Florida playing baseball. Not that it makes me anything special, but here's something I'm going to tell you. And I played sports all my life, just like you did. And I can tell you that when you're in a game and when you go out there on the mound and you're pitching, if you walk 4 straight guys, that's on you. If the winning run comes in, that's on you. If you are a hitter and you're at the plate in the bottom of the ninth, the bases loaded, and you're behind 4-2, and you come up and you strike out with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth, that's where they're going to focus because that was a baseball play. But if you go out there and make a stupid play that's not baseball related that cost your team the game, that's different. And so I think what I'm trying to say to you, the context, again, I'm not blaming it all on Marco. It was a group loss. I get it. His was outside the context. He violated Rule 9, Section 2, which says you can't throw things. I called Mike McGinnis and talked to him. Unsportsmanlike conduct. So I think Mike put it best. Mike McGinnis, as you know, was a SEC replay official. He's captain of the Ocala Quarterback Club. He researched this for me. He said, in his opinion, this is just as a fan, Marco's mistake didn't cost us the game, but it gave LSU the game.
Well, I kind of agree with that. But your analogy with baseball to me, baseball is a team sport, but it's an individual sport within a team. you know, football is the greatest team sport because we all agree Kyle Trask, is he going to win the Heisman? We hope he does. But he wouldn't be having this year if he didn't have great teammates around him. And that's why, you know, the team is going to rally behind Marco. Maybe it's because I'm a coach's son. I've coached and I've played the game a long time.
Yep.
I realize people make mistakes, but I also look at the big picture. And if we would have played halfway the way we're supposed to play in that game, the game is not close. And it doesn't come down to that situation.
I'm with you, Shane, on that 100%. But we don't agree on the fact that plays like that, bonehead plays like that, cost you and your teammates. I'm going to put it in this context. Again, I've made my mistakes. You've made yours. I'm not saying everything's his fault. But when you look at the cost of this mistake, let's just say for a minute, had he picked up the shoe and handed it back to the guy. My wife brought that up. How would that have changed the course of history? In a moment of whatever you want to call it, I'm not inside of his head, probably jubilation, frustration, defiance, whatever makes you throw that shoe, it happened. And I'm sure he wishes he could have pulled it back. One of his teammates grabbed him real quick after it was over. And that turned out to be, unfortunately, costly. Here's what it costs. If that's the reason they lost the game, it costs them a chance to compete for a national championship. I know, look at Alabama, if they beat them, they'll have it back. It costs them maybe the Heisman Trophy. I'm a Heisman voter. I got to vote Saturday. Now I'm like, if I'm not, I'm probably going to vote for Kyle Trask. But other people say, well, you know, you didn't have a good year. So Kyle Trask lost his chance. And part of that's on him, by the way, because he didn't play well. And then the last thing is that maybe it cost him the statue, Shane. If he
buddy, I understand that, but look, I'm a quarterback. I understand what it's about. But if you're going to sit here and say Marco's decision is going to cost Kyle a statue, how about saying Kyle shouldn't have turned it over three times?
You didn't hear what I said, Shane. You're not hearing what I said. I said if it cost them the game. I didn't say it did. I said if it turns out that it cost them the game, if that was it, you can pick whatever you want to. Blame it on Kyle Trask. I don't care.
I'm not blaming it on Kyle Trask because interceptions and fumbles are part of the game. That's what we've been fortunate this year. We have not turned it over.
And that's my point. What happened outside that context is Marco throwing that shoe, which was outside the context of making the play on the field. So we're not going to agree on this. I get it. I respect your opinion, your knowledge. This is just mine, and it's really too bad because you know Saturday was a rough day. There was
it's horrible.
It was first of all. The game was a travesty for Florida, a travesty. And by the way, I still think they're where I thought they'd be. We'll talk about that if you got time. But it was also a tragedy. Keontae Johnson, that's beyond any context of any game, which I think we're all grieving about, praying for. We think about it almost doesn't matter what the outcome of that game was when you put it in that context. Because we're all thinking and praying of Keontae and his family.
No, you're exactly right. The Keontae Johnson deal. I'll be surprised if we play basketball until we got some better information because I don't know how his teammates and coaches can move forward.
Yeah.
Because this is who cares if we play another basketball game this year? Honestly,
right.
Just praying for that kid. He's one of my all-time favorite Gator basketball players, and just hoping for some good news.
Yeah.
We got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Well, I just lost it. It was somebody was asking about the media day and all that stuff for the SEC championship game. They don't ever really have a media day. The team flies in.
They had it yesterday for Dane.
Yeah, well, I think they're thinking of it more of a playoff bowl type deal where the team only, whether it's COVID or not, the team flies in on Friday, plays the game, and flies home for the SEC.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're speaking with Buddy Martin here on the Titan MR Hotline from the Crime Prevention Studios. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. December is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Well, buddy, what do you think about? We're going to play Alabama.
Yeah.
this game, it's weird because you're still playing for a championship, but it's a strange feeling because we lost. And, now this game isn't as big as everybody in the national picture thought it was going to be. And I had someone ask me yesterday, do you think Florida's going to go there and lay down since we lost to LSU? And I totally disagree with that. If we have anybody that goes in that building and doesn't play hard, they need to look themselves in the mirror because you're still playing to win an SEC championship.
For sure. And I think I thought about this a lot, Shane, and I got some historical references to it. Oddly enough, they can learn from what LSU did. LSU came in here as a 23.5-point underdog, lost her top 3 cornerbacks, had a new quarterback starting, and came in and beat the Florida Gators in one of the biggest upsets I can ever remember. And credit to Coach O and what they did. Never mind the issue with Marco, they won the game. And so now the question becomes, Shane, could that be something the Florida Gators learned from? Because they're only 60.5-point underdogs, right? You feel me on this one? So it's possible.
But we need Alabama to play like we did. We need turnovers to help us.
Probably not going to happen.
I told somebody the other day, do your research on at any level of football, whether it's high school, college, or pro football. If one team has 3 turnovers, the other team has none, you ain't winning the football game. The percentages are so low.
It actually has happened to Coach Spurrier a couple of times. But you're right. And your football. And I just why I threw out there is they're going to be a make-good game. As you said, they're going to rally around Marco, or they're going to rally around Todd Grantham. Todd Grantham has been on the hot seat. You know how I feel about Grantham. I like him as a defensive coordinator. You do too. Coach Spurrier does. Certainly Dan Mullen does. But he's under fire right now because what happens, again, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. If you throw up a number like 62-24, what's that number? That's the number that Nebraska put on Florida in the 1996 for the 95 season Fiesta Bowl. What will happen? Somebody's going to have to pay for that. Will this be the point where, I don't know, maybe the AD comes to Coach Mullen and says, he's got to go. You never know about look at Gus Malzahn.
Well,
did you think Gus Malzahn was going to get fired? I didn't.
I did. I'd heard he was. They've lost 4 games the last 7 years. So here's the thing. I don't think Todd Grantham's going anywhere. I think what they're going to have to address at the end of the year is we're not going to play multiple players. We're going to play our starting 11 until somebody is tired and needs to come off the field. We rotate, in my opinion, too many defensive linemen and too many defensive backs. That if you sit and watch, that is the reason why we have trouble getting lined up and people busting assignments.
That drives me crazy. That lineup thing drives me crazy.
But they're doing that because, in my opinion, because kids get their feelings hurt nowadays because they want to come in and play right away. Back in the day, you knew when you came in you were going to be redshirted. And so they're trying to play all these young players to keep them happy, keep them here or whatever. I would sit down. I think Coach Spurrier says it too. Todd Grantham is a good defensive coordinator. You're going to give up plays. We still only gave up 400 yards. That ain't a whole lot of yards in today's world.
Yeah, that's true.
So the bottom line is we got to figure out and play our best players until they're dead ass tired, and then tap the helmet and come out. Because I just feel like we're running them in and out way too much. So
that's a good point. You might be right, and that could be it. But the lining up thing has got to stop.
Well, it's because you got people running in and they're not sure what they're doing.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
And I want to make one other point. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on Todd Grantham, but again, Dan Mullen is the head coach. He sits in on every defensive meeting there is during the week. He knows what the plan is against LSU. He knows what the plan's supposed to be against Alabama. And he hears every play call for offense and defense. He is the CEO. He can tell Todd Grantham, call this. He's the head coach. He can tell him to change something if he doesn't like it. So I just want people to remember that, Yeah. I don't think Todd Grantham's going anywhere. I think we just need to solidify who our starting 11 are. And if it hurts little Jimmy's feelings that he ain't getting playing time and he wants to transfer, see you later. But, you know, it's time to play our best player. Now, it may be too late this year because we only got one more game in a bowl game.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about going forward in the future. Play your best players till they're tired. That's the way I look at it.
I think you're right. That's a good point. This will be known forevermore as the shoe game, right?
I guess. I mean, that's what the national people. You know, it is what it is. It was a dumb bonehead move. We've talked about it, but
Let's take it in a different context. Let's take it as a light moment, okay? Because it's serious to people like us and everybody else. LSU selling T-shirts. The shoe game. It's already up.
Of course they are. Yeah. I mean, we would. I mean,
I get it.
How many T-shirts did our student body or our little Gator shops around town sell T-shirts when it was free shoes university?
There's nothing wrong with capitalism. We've all done that. I'm just saying that's what it will be. So the question I have for you is, what kind of shoe was it?
What do you mean? What kind of shoe was it? They
were
Nike.
Brand? You know the brand?
Yeah, they wear Nike. They're a Nike
school.
No,
no, Shane. I want you to give me the details. It's like a trivia question at a bar, okay? The shoe game. Remember that game back in 2020? What was that, right? Who was the player? You know, the tight end, so on and so forth. The shoe was a size 14 Nike Vapor Edge Pro 360. Just in context. Little facts that you need to know, okay? I know you were dying to know that. I want to make sure I give it to you before. Now, question for you.
All right, that's good stuff, buddy. We've already run out of time.
Well, I got to ask this real quick, and you can ask Doering. Should Kyle Pitts have been on the field? Should he have at least dressed? Could he have made a difference in the red zone, even for a player or two? In my opinion, I think he should.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if he's injured or what, but I agree there, buddy. Appreciate it, man. We'll see you this evening.
All right, Shane. Thank you. Yeah,
that's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan MRI hotline here from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. We're going to take our first time out at Center State Bank. We put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We'll be right back. We'll be joined by SEC Network, Mr. Chris Doering.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doering Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Gar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us. Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, Nike, the Keys Grill and Piano Bar, opening soon Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MRI hotline, and we're joined by UF Hall of Famer, SEC Network analyst, Mr. Chris Doering. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to be back with you, Shane. How are you, bro?
Doing all right, man. Well, we've had a couple of days here to marinate this. I think I read some of your tweets. One of the worst losses in Florida football history. Do you still feel that way?
I do. I mean, I think given what was on the line, given the fact that you're playing a team that was completely just decimated with departures and roster numbers and all the stuff that's gone on behind the scenes, playing at home, all that's on the line. I mean, it just I never imagined. I never thought that Florida would lose this game. I thought that they could stumble through it. I think they thought they could stumble through it, they'd roll the balls out there and win the game. And at the end of the day, they ran into a team that I thought had a lot more motivation than what I expected. I thought LSU had packed it in and were ready to move on to the offseason. They brought a lot of fight to Florida, and Florida definitely did not match the intensity or focus that they needed to have.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. I think the difference in this LSU football team, I think they still have some talent. Obviously, in their back end of their defense, they play with a bunch of walk-ons, third and fourth teamers. But I think they're better than their record indicates. And the reason I say that is because of Max Johnson, the quarterback. If you watch the last 3 or 4 games when they both played, he and TJ Finley, they'd start Finley and play him till basically the fourth quarter when they're way behind. And then Max Johnson comes in and puts some good drives together. So I think his ability to make good decisions allowed them to have a chance of winning this football game. I'm with you. I would have never thought we'd lose this football game. People want to look at the play of Marco Wilson. We can talk about that, but it goes beyond that. Was that a dumb play? Absolutely. It's hard for me, being a former player, to be upset. I mean, you want to be upset with it, but he's a teammate. He's a Gator. You got to forgive it and move on, because there's plenty of other opportunities in that game for us to win.
Yeah. First of all, I want to echo what you said about Max Johnson. They put him in good positions with some quick throws, got the ball out of his hands. He didn't make mistakes. I thought his ability to run, avoiding the rush in a lot of cases, put extra pressure on Florida's defense. I think he had 65 yards rushing in the game, so another added element that they used on offense. Secondly, Shane, there were signs of this to come the last 3 or 4 games. I mean, dating back to Vanderbilt, the lack of consistency on offense, the fact that you had moments where you just completely lost focus offensively, empty drives. I said it coming into this game on Friday night on the SEC Network, they got to clean this up because they can't afford to have empty drives against Alabama. Well, little did I know that they'd have issues with the empty drives that would cost them against LSU. 8 red zone possessions, you only get 34 points. I thought the tone was set early on. When you go for it on fourth down, I don't have a problem going with it on fourth down. The problem that I have is you can't move anybody off the line of scrimmage. You can't run the ball directly up the gut, and you try to do that and get stuffed there. That was just the tone setter for the rest of the game. And as far as you said about Marco Wilson, like, how many times have we all been in the middle of an athletic competition where we've done things emotionally that we wouldn't normally do otherwise, don't think about it? The ironic part about it is, I don't know if somebody sent me a clip of the Kentucky game where James Houston actually did the same thing, ripped off a guy's shoe and threw it. Didn't throw it quite as far, but I wish he would have been penalized in that game because it might have actually brought some attention to it where it wouldn't have happened in this one. But I don't blame. There's so many other plays that you can go back to. And defensively, it's happened all year long. How about, we run a corner blitz and Kyer Elam decides to come off the short side when everybody else on the defense is rotating to the other side. You give up a long touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. Just too many times that the defense doesn't understand what their assignment is. They're not on the same page. They can't get aligned. I mean, I don't know how we're this deep in the season without having the ability to either simplify things a little bit or at least understand what you're being asked to do, especially with that many veteran players on the defense.
Yeah, and, a lot of people, too, that I've had on different shows that I've been on, Chris, they talk about Florida, being a prolific offense, and I agree. It's fun to watch. But I felt like, and you and I were texting during the game, we got impatient, especially when we fell behind. We had a lot of bad things happen because Trask throws 2 interceptions, a fumble. Offense gives them 10 points. And it's almost like I don't know if we panicked, but we tried to get it all back at once. And we had that portion in the second half where we had 3 or 4 straight 3-and-outs to an awful LSU defense.
Yeah, I panic is a great word. I mean, and I think we've all done that before. You know, I've been on some really good offensive teams, and when it's not going well, you want to make up for it right away. And I thought after Florida took the lead, I thought, all right, here we go. It's going to be open the floodgates time. The game's going to get away from LSU. They're going to run out of gas. And you helped keep LSU in the game by deciding to throw the football, down the field 30, 40 yards in the fog, where I can't imagine it's pretty easy to see. I mean, you and I played in a game in Jacksonville in the Gator Bowl where it was probably a little worse than that, and it was difficult to throw. I think that also goes to speak to the fact that you don't have the ability to run, and that weather, maybe you need to be able to run the ball a little bit more. I don't freak out about the idea that Florida can't run because they use so many different quick pass plays to compensate for their inability to run the football. But I do have a problem with throwing the ball down the field as much as you did and maybe not utilizing some of the underneath passing a little bit more, particularly when you're backed up. We get the ball at the goal line after a great punt and have it be down at the one, and Florida takes 3 shots down the field instead of trying to gain some yardage, at least get yourself out of the shadow of the goalpost, and you end up punting it right back. Now, I know it didn't cost them, and Florida was able to get out of there on the next possession, but I just thought it was too much too quickly instead of just being a little bit more patient.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit more about the LSU game. When you look at the defense, and you get on social media and everybody's on Todd Grantham, and I understand why. But I said at the beginning of the year, I didn't think our defensive front was very good. We haven't played great on the back end too, but it all goes hand in hand. But in my opinion, we can't get lined up sometimes. We got people running on and off the field. I feel like personally, we play too many players. You don't see a lot of other programs in the SEC playing as many people as we do. I understand they want to keep people fresh, want to keep people happy, because everybody wants to play. And it's the same thing on offense. We talk about Kyle Trask spreading the ball around, which he does a great job of, but we rotate our starting 3 receivers every other series. Could you imagine back when you, Kwesi, Ike, and Riedel not playing every series unless you were dead tired?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed in the off season, but especially from the defensive end, I think that's hurting us because we're making so many substitutions.
Yeah, I agree with you defensively for sure. And that's one of the things in the SEC, particularly on the defensive line, that everybody wants to talk about, rotating guys in there, being able to have a lot of depth to stay fresh at the end of the game. But at the same time, sometimes you want to have your studs in there, your guys that you feel like you can trust and that you can go to. And I'm with you, man. I don't understand how so many guys that have played so many snaps in the secondary are so poor at playing the football in the air. I mean, it's a lot of times they're in great coverage and just get beat by a guy going up and making a catch when, you've been in that position before. I would actually have a bigger problem with some of Marco's coverage issues than I would the actual toss of the football over the course of this season. But I don't offensively, I couldn't imagine as a receiver, especially an upperclassman who's deserved the right to play more snaps, having to rotate as much as they do. And I love the idea of spreading it around to everybody that's on the field now. But just to have 10 or 11 receivers catching balls in a game, just to brag about that, doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me.
No. And, there's been a lot of talk the last couple of days about the culture of the program and all this. I think Dan and them have a good culture. There's just some things that I personally would like different, and I think I tweeted to you because we got different guys wearing different colored socks. We got sweatbands and all these wrappings around our calves you don't see other teams doing this. I wish somebody, the equipment guys, just hand them the correct socks and say, let's go play and quit wearing all this crazy stuff.
You're going with the old guy, get off my lawn theory here, huh? I mean, I think that's one of those things that we don't understand as older guys that they got.
Well, you don't see any other teams doing it, is my point.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked and paid attention to that.
You watch how many times other teams have different colored socks on, have, the sweatbands around the biceps, around the calves. Brad Stewart had more things wrapped around his legs but from his knees to his ankles, it looked like a candy cane stripe thing he had. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Could you imagine what Coach Spurrier would say if dudes rolled out there like that?
Yeah, I mean, those are little things that I just wish we could get rid of and not do that anymore. So anyway, all right, enough of the LSU game. You know, it was a devastating loss. It hurts because.
Hey, tell me this, Shane, real quick, man. I after you play, especially at Florida, play in the NFL. When your team loses, it's never really bothered me that much. But for some reason, this one really bothers me. And still at this point in time, I'm a little sick about it. I think part of it has to do with us getting our expectation level back up and being, caught up in the excitement. I think part of it has to do with me as an SEC Network guy thinking about what next weekend was going to bring with the championship game and all that the ramifications around it. But this one for real has stuck with me longer and been more intensely sickening than what I ever could have imagined. I'm upset at myself for being upset, and I hope I'm not the only one that feels that way.
No, I guess I get upset and feel sick to my stomach. First of all, Saturday was an awful day for the Gator Nation. Prayers out to Keontae Johnson. Mm-hmm. We still don't have a whole lot of word on that, but that bothered me all day and all night. And then the football game, I'm with you. If we lose to a team that I feel like is better than us, I don't really have a problem with it. It's when you lose to teams that you should beat and you have no business losing to them. That bothers me. And, I feel horrible for Marco Wilson.
Yeah.
People are all killing him, and I understand that. But people have to put themselves in his position. What if that was your kid that made that horrible mistake? What if that was your teammate? Because I can promise you, people are talking about he needs to be kicked off the team. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Those people have never been part of a football team. So, but yeah, it does bother me because, like you said, so much was at stake. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking whether we beat LSU or not, that team that's going to be rolling in with the Crimson helmets, I don't know if we can beat them no matter what. I think they're that good. Mm-hmm. But, you still got a chance to go play for a championship. And who knows what can happen. So let's talk real briefly about the SEC title game. It's not as big as it was going to be because I really thought if Florida beats Alabama, Florida and Alabama's going regardless. I'm not sure we can beat them, honestly, unless they make some mistakes like we did against LSU.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Our defense, particularly our secondary, is going to have a hard time being able to hold up with what they do in the passing game. I look offensively too, as I talked about earlier. The last 4 games, just too many possessions where you're not scoring touchdowns. You can't kick field goals against Alabama. You certainly can't afford to have possessions where you don't get anything on the scoreboard. So that's an issue. But I think particularly, Shane, and I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this. Our offensive line in pass protection has not been good. Florida's been able to compensate for it by getting the ball to their hands quickly, moving the pocket a little bit at times. But particularly the right side, Will Anderson, Christopher Allen, Christian Barmore, they're going to eat up Florida's right side of the offensive line. And if I was Pete Golding, man, I would match up Will Anderson on Gene DeLance every single play. I don't think he's got a chance to be able to hold up unless they provide a little bit of help, either a guy chipping or sliding protection that way, because I just haven't seen a whole lot of ability in one-on-one pass rush situations to be able to handle a really athletic pass rusher.
What's interesting is, for the most part, I thought our pass protection has been pretty good from the middle part to the beginning of the year. But then we play Kentucky, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt, and it's kind of gotten worse. And again, against LSU, it got worse. So, yeah, it is a concern because Saban's going to have some different packages. I'm anxious to see the X's and O's, the strategy of what he tries to do defensively to slow down our passing attack. I mean, we're throwing for 1 million yards every game, and Trask has had a phenomenal year. But I'm anxious to see what he tries to do. You got any thoughts on what he may try to do to us?
Well, first of all, I think, you hit the nail on the head in terms of throwing for 1 million yards, but it doesn't matter unless you're scoring touchdowns. And if you can't run the ball at all, that's the one place I think it actually does show up, not being able to run the ball in that part of the field where the windows are condensed as much as they are. Now, I do like one of the Florida's best run plays is throwing it out to Tony or to Grimes and having those 2 receivers out wide. I mean, I know it's a pass, but essentially it's just a long handoff off there. Mm-hmm. But not being able to run the football is difficult in that part of the field. In terms of slowing the Gators down, I really believe it's about pass rush, and I think it's the same on the other side. I mean, the only way you're going to slow down Alabama's passing game is to be able to create a little bit of pressure on Mac Jones, which not a lot of people have done. And the one thing, Shane, I don't think anybody's talked about enough is just how good Alabama's offensive line is. They're the best offensive line in the country. And going back, I think you and I can both appreciate shot plays, where you got a couple guys out in the routes, you're hitting some double moves. Alabama's 7-man protection. You watch when they take shots, Mac Jones doesn't get touched, and that allows those receivers to have a little bit of extra time for the double move. So I don't see how Florida's able to get pressure on Mac Jones, and I certainly don't. I don't see how Florida's able to hold up long enough to really have time to take the shots down the field. Now you can get the ball to Tony quickly. You can get the ball, out of your hand on some of those quick screens. But the shot plays for Florida, I think it's going to be difficult to do with the offensive line playing the way they are.
At Chris Doering Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doering Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. And what do you know? We're speaking to the Chris Doering right now on the Titan Number Hotline. How's business going?
Good, man. It's been a really good year. I know it's been a tough year for everybody dealing with the pandemic, but really excited, at least for our group and what we've been able to do in terms of the rates being low with the refi business and the purchase market being as hot as it is. So I definitely feel a little guilty about how well we've been doing, but I do think that we're doing a lot of good for families here in the North Central Florida area.
Awesome. All right, let's talk Alabama real quick because you get to watch all the all 22 tapes on all the teams in the SEC, and just me watching only strictly TV copies. Alabama's offense is the most complete offense I've seen in college football since I've been around. And the reason I say that is because I think Najee Harris has ran for over, 20-something touchdowns this year. You got Devontae Smith with about 15-something touchdowns. And then you got Mac Jones, who delivers the football on time and is extremely accurate. And as you mentioned, the offensive line. They just got a three-headed monster that, gosh, I mean, I don't know how you slow them down.
Legitimately, you could rank those guys 1, 2, and 3 in the Heisman Trophy race. And I think you and I are both on the same page that the best player in college football is Devontae Smith. Yesterday, he goes ahead or Saturday, he flexes his muscle in the special teams game. We haven't seen him return a whole lot of punts or kicks this year, but they give him an opportunity to do that, and it opens up the floodgates for them after kind of a slow offensive start. I think as they're as not only a complete offense, they're as complete a team as there is in college football. And on Saturday, they did it with their defense. It was really more so about defense leading to points in special teams, and offensively, the average starting field position for Alabama's offense was at their own 45-yard line. I mean, there was multiple 3 and outs that set up a punt return touchdown, a 49-yard drive, and a 5-yard one-play drive for Najee Harris on a touchdown run after the strip sack of Felipe Franks. They can just beat you in so many ways. And I thought the thing that was most impressive, you look at the stat line for Mac Jones on Saturday, he only threw for 208 yards. But what does Arkansas do? They drop back into coverage. They make you be patient underneath. And he didn't force the football like we saw KJ Costello do against Arkansas earlier, or Matt Corral do against Arkansas earlier. Took what they were giving them. They're able to run the ball when you're dropping that much into coverage. It opened up some running lanes for Robinson and Harris. I just think they can beat you so many different ways. And as you mentioned, that three-headed monster reminds you a lot of the Colts back in the day with the big three that they had. So I think it's going to be a really difficult matchup. I haven't seen what Vegas has Alabama favored by, but I have to imagine it's at least 2 touchdowns or more, right?
Yeah, it's something like that from what I heard. I haven't looked at it recently, but it was 14, I believe. Are you a Heisman voter?
I'm not. Are you?
Why would I be a Heisman voter? You're a big star on the SEC network.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got my Heisman vote yet. I don't know what I got. Somebody asked me if I wanted to do it, and then I never ever followed up on it. So maybe I should. I don't know.
Well, I should know this, and maybe you do, and you can explain it to me and our listeners. So you get three votes: first place, second place, and third place. So let's just say voter. How do they do it? Like, let's just say you are a voter. You go Trask, Jones, Devontae Smith, and I'm a voter, and I go Devontae Smith, Jones, Trask. how do they determine? How do you get a certain amount of points for second place?
I think it's points. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I do believe it's points, though, that you get a certain point for first place votes, you get certain for second place and certain for third. I think that's how they do it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I just started thinking about it the other day. So do you think it's going to be who plays the best out of Mac and Trask to win this award? Do you think a couple of the big boys on ESPN basically said they're voting Devontae Smith as the Heisman Trophy winner?
I mean, fortunately for Trask, on a day when he was not very good, and still, when I say not very good,
he threw for a bunch of yards,
400 yards. But when I don't think he was at his best, I don't think he's been at his best the last couple of weeks. And offensively, Florida hasn't been at their best. But I would say he's lucky. If you go look at the big three from Alabama, Jones throws for 208 yards. Najee has 60 yards rushing. And Devontae has 20 yards receiving. Now, he did have the punt return, which I think adds a little bit of flair to his resume. But I think, for the most part, that award is probably out of reach for Trask at this point in time, don't you think?
Yeah, gosh, you don't know. I mean, some people may have already sent their ballots in.
If they already sent their ballots in, they deserve to have their voting rights revoked. I don't
agree.
understand why you would even accept ballots before the end of the season.
Yeah, it makes 100%. Hey, so the SEC network, normally y'all are set up at fanfare and all that. They're not doing any of that this year, right?
Dude, I am so mad about this because normally, we do it from fanfare. We're on site, and Florida hasn't been in that game for a long time. And now the year that Florida's in it, we're actually going to be in the studio. Now, the folks on SEC Nation will be on site. Jordan, Roman, and Laura, and those guys will be out there. Tebow on site, but we'll be in the studio doing our stuff on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, but they're not doing the fanfare or any of that stuff, I don't think, right?
No, man, it's just another
headache.
Bad thing from the 2020 year that we've had to deal with here. But it stinks for all of us Florida folks. It would have been a really fun, especially if Florida would have won. Maybe now at this point in time, it doesn't matter after losing to LSU, but the atmosphere would have been really good. And you and I, unfortunately, your experience against Alabama in the SEC championship game was probably not one that you want to remember. But
yeah, I feel like Marco Wilson right now.
Sorry to bring that up, bro, but that's the best rivalry. It's the most played SEC championship matchup. This will be the 10th time it's played. I played in the first 3 of them when we played Alabama before playing Arkansas in my senior year. But it's just such a great atmosphere when those two teams meet in Atlanta, and I hate that it's not going to have that same feel this year. Last thing,
give me who you think on, I guess Sunday's a selection show. Who's going to be the 14 playoff in the 14 playoff?
Man, you know what? I had Ohio State in there, so I had Alabama, I had Notre Dame, I had Clemson, and I had Ohio State in there. Obviously, I know they say that they don't set up the rankings in any way, prevent certain rematches, but I would imagine they would keep Notre Dame and Clemson from playing one another again. And that's assuming Clemson wins. But I think I was of a belief that Ohio State should be in. But the more I think about it, in LSU, that LSU game was a perfect example, like the cumulative effect of playing a 10-game conference-only schedule. You and I know how hard it was just to play 8 games. And for some reason, we always struggled against Vanderbilt at the end of the year, partially because they had a good plan against us, but partially because we played them late and we were so fatigued mentally and physically by that point in time. So the fact that Ohio State hasn't played that same grind, the fact that their best win is against Indiana and they struggled in that game, I think I'm starting to lean away from Ohio State right now. And I'm a big fan of Texas A&M. I think you and I are on the same page with what they do as a team. I think second to Alabama, they're the most complete team with their defense really stepping up since they played us. But I think offensively, man, when Kellen Mond's into it and Spiller and Smith are running the football, that offensive line is really good. I would love to see A&M get a chance to sneak in there because I think they could compete with Notre Dame and Clemson and Alabama. I think that game against Alabama early in the season, you go back and watch, they moved the ball really well against them. They just didn't finish in the red zone. And I think Texas A&M would be fun to see in that group.
And they'll get in if Clemson loses to Notre Dame. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of people may be surprised, some people not, but at Auburn, they've made a coaching change. Gus has been fired. Are you surprised with that move?
Well, I heard rumors all week long that win or lose, they were going to be moving on from Gus Malzahn. And that's kind of been the mindset they've had all along. I think, Shane, and you know this, I mean, there's such an inferiority complex in the state of Alabama and jealousy about what goes on in Tuscaloosa from that fan base. They're never going to be happy. They're always going to be looking at what Alabama's doing and never be happy with their own success. I don't have a lot of patience for them, especially because of my relationship with Gene Chizik now and what happened to him after winning a national championship only to be fired 2 years later. I think the biggest question you have to ask when you fire a coach is, all right, if we fire this guy, who are we going to go get that's better than our current situation? So I think they have their eyes on Hugh Freeze. I think they have their eyes on Mario Cristobal, two guys that they feel like could be successful there. But are both of those guys slam dunk home run hires? I don't think so. So I know that was a less than impressive win over Mississippi State on Saturday night, but I thought Mississippi State, that was actually a trap game for them. I was pleased that Auburn found a way to win. I'm confused as to who they go get from now. That's a home run upgrade from where they are with Malzahn.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because that's, they've won. I think they've lost like 4 or 5 games the last 7 years. Not easy living in the state of Alabama with Nick Saban.
Shane, who are they? Like, they're not Alabama. They're not LSU. They're not going to. Texas A&M is passing. I'm like, I don't think Auburn is a top. You think it's a top 15 job in the country at this point?
Well, I would say it might be just because it's in the SEC. You're going to make a lot of money, but you're right. I mean, right now the SEC, it's a two horse race in the East. It's Florida, Georgia, and in the West, it's been Alabama and LSU. Now you throw A&M in the mix, but I think Auburn's one of those middle tier teams right now.
And think about what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Those aren't sure wins anymore. They used to be sure wins in the West, but now it's going to be difficult to beat Alabama and LSU on a yearly basis. And having Mississippi State and Ole Miss having dangerous offenses is going to create even more pitfalls for you. I think that Auburn overvalues kind of who they are or what they should be. And I think that's a dangerous position to be in.
Yeah. All right, Chris. Appreciate it, my man.
Yeah, man.
We look forward to go check you out Saturday on the SEC stuff. But we appreciate you taking the time here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline.
Yeah, good stuff, Shane. Thanks, man.
All right, that's Chris Doering joining us here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. We're going to take our final time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Tuesday edition.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doering Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchased, $199 value. And our service department's available 24/7 for your convenience. This day in sports, in 2002 and 2008 on this day, The Heisman Trophy goes to, guess what, 2 quarterbacks, Carson Palmer of USC and Sam Bradford of the Oklahoma Sooners. I want to thank Buddy Martin and Chris Doering for joining the program today. Make sure you follow us and like us. Check out all our sponsors. Go visit them if you're in the area. Tell them thanks for sponsoring our show. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. See you tomorrow, folks.